All right, looks like we're live.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Let us know in the chat window if you can see us so that we make sure that it's working.
And also hear us.
And also hear us, yes. Well, it's been a while since we've had our last virtual write-in. Welcome all new viewers, and welcome back all people who we last saw in the end of November, which was a long time ago.
How y'all doing? We haven't talked in so long.
Yeah. Well, who are we? Who are you?
I'm Kristen. I'm the Young Writers Program and Operations Intern here at NaNoWriMo.
And I'm Nick. I'm the editorial intern for NaNoWriMo. And we are gearing up for Camp NaNoWriMo, which starts on whatever day April 1st is. Sunday. Yes. So I think, should we start with explaining what a virtual write-in is or what camp is? What do you think?
Talk about camp.
Camp, okay. All right, so yeah, Camp NaNoWriMo. If you're not familiar with it, because this is my first time doing Camp NaNoWriMo.
Same, actually.
So we're on board with all of you. Camp NaNoWriMo is different from NaNoWriMo in that, well, first of all, it happens in April and July. July, you get an extra day because it's 31 days in a month. And Camp NaNoWriMo, you can write kind of anything you want. A lot of people use it to write like screenplays or poems or short stories. Some people write like games and stuff. And other people use it to like revise. Some people just write novels. But yeah, it's kind of an opportunity to experiment, play a little with your writing, and try new things.
So we're here at the virtual write-in, if you haven't done one before. We are basically, we go through a bunch of sprints, and we talk about our projects, and we talk about our problems and our strategies, and then we write for a while, and we write for a set amount of time, and you write, and then we talk about what we wrote and what it was like, and they're usually about an hour.
Yeah, about an hour. Yeah, well, we'll try to make sure it's like under the time limit, because we know all of you have like stuff you got to get to after this.
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're really excited. Currently, it looks like we have, how many viewers? 75 people watching us. So it's like it's a smaller crowd today, but it's like, that's even better, I think. Nice. So yeah, because Camp NaNoWriMo is kind of different from November Nano, you might be wondering, like, what am I going to do that's not a novel? Obviously, you can always do a novel. That you can totally do a 50,000 word project like you would in November, but you can also just try out something totally different, and that can be a little challenging, a little daunting. If we're going to do a bit of a throwback here, if any of you are familiar with Script Frenzy, that was an old program that NaNoWriMo used to do in April. That was to write a 100-page script in a month. I think it ended like 2012, 2013. But I remember I did it a few years, and there was a lot of fun, kind of very different than writing a novel, but a really good exercise.
So what's today's theme? What are we going to be talking about today?
Today's theme is thinking outside the box. Turn off, excuse me. We're going to be thinking outside the box. So trying new things, new formats, what's challenging about changing up your writing, habit, and breaking out of your routine. Like what's going to be different.
You're doing something different than necessarily a novel if you're doing that. Yeah.
So you want to get started on the first sprint?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this first sprint is going to be 5 minutes. It's just kind of going to be to like knock off the cobwebs, get your brain gears turning a little bit, and start thinking about, if you haven't already, start thinking about what your project or projects are going to be in April. So do you want to read the prompt?
So we were thinking, just to kind of get started, you could find a way to outline your idea or your story, depending on where you're at, because I know we're probably all at different points. So pick a scene or make a list of words and find a way, a creative way to outline your story and what you have so far. If you don't have an idea necessarily, you can just free associate a list of ideas, just write a bunch of stuff down. write down images or topics that interest you or that you think might go with the basic idea that you have. Or if you have no idea at all, just free write and see what you come up with and what interests you.
Yeah, and as always, you don't have to follow the prompt, but obviously we'd love it if you could join in. So I'm going to set the timer on my phone for 5 minutes. Give me 1 second. So everybody get your pens and pencils and keyboards ready, and we will try to type relatively quietly. But I'm sorry, I just had to say it. All right, starting the timer right now. I'll have about 2 minutes left. Oh, the time has gone off. Sorry, I did not have the volume on. Let me fix that. Time's up, everyone. Put down your pens, your typing hands, etc. So let's talk. What y'all write about? Share in the chat, and we'll get talking about. Yeah, what's everyone's idea?
Well, what did you work on?
So I just kind of did a short synopsis of one of the projects that I'm working on. I have kind of been bouncing around projects for a while. I only settled on this one a couple days ago, and it's a project that I've worked on in different iterations for a few years. And this one, I'm finally at a point right now where I'm like, I can really kind of approach this the way that I really want to, and I feel like more confident with it. So I'm gonna give it a whack this time. But yeah, I just kind of wrote a synopsis generally and some concepts that are important to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have no real solid idea right now.
Okay.
So I just was writing down different elements that I want to incorporate, and yeah. What did everyone else do?
Yeah, let's hear from the chat. Oh yeah, if you want, share your word count. Obviously, in these, since camp hasn't started yet, we can't really add these to our goals, our word count goals. But if you want to share,
which is why we're trying to just kind of get things going,
yeah,
and get your ideas
get the gears turning again,
built up, so that you have something to work with.
Exactly. Reunion between two of my prominent characters. They're not main characters, but they're important to the story. That's nice. I like that. Ooh, R.A. Babybug. I'm halfway through an LGBT young adult novel, and I'm plotting out the second half, which is dramatically different than I originally planned. Things can change totally unexpectedly, and I feel like that can be really fun.
It's one of the fun things about writing.
Yeah, definitely. What else? Quotes as prompts for events that I might include. That's really good.
I like that.
Outline the details and operation of magic in the world. That's good too.
Nice. Yeah, world building and that kind of stuff is also really helpful.
Definitely.
If you plan that out a little bit, it can help inspire things.
Definitely, yeah. Can we talk a little bit about what types of writing people are doing? Let's start maybe by genre. What kind of genre and topics are people writing about right now, and then we can go on to what formats they might be writing. So if you want to share in the chat, what kind of story are you writing? Are you writing a fantasy story, young adult story, fan fiction, literary, any combination of thing, or something entirely different? Feel free to share.
YA fantasy. YA fantasy looks really popular.
Oh, definitely.
Fantasy revisions. Fan fiction.
Yeah.
Love it.
Sci-fi horror audio drama anthology. I love the combination of those words. Contemporary romance, biker romance. Ooh, that's very cool.
I want to know more. I want to know what a biker romance is.
Yeah, I want to hear about that. We need more of that. Lots of great responses. Yeah.
Historical fiction about nursing during the Civil War.
Ooh,
that's amazing.
Good stuff. A memoir. That's nice. Romance centered on the mafia. Awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of doing a very low fantasy story, because for me, I feel obligated to make things at least a little bit weird, supernatural, a little bit. But in this case, it's the bare minimum of weirdness in that it takes place in a different world, and that's basically it. But there's there's no magic or anything that there is just whatever.
I like it.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have any?
I have just again a very vague idea. I don't think it doesn't really have that much fantasy in it at all. I'm trying to kind of do YA center.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's very popular.
Yeah. I haven't tried it before, so
nice. Yeah. So that's kind of what camp is all about: trying things you haven't tried before. Which leads us into the next important part of our discussion. What kind of format are you writing in? I know for a lot of people, NaNoWriMo is about writing the novel. But obviously you can write in different styles than you've ever tried before. So scripts like a screenplay or a play or some people write like a video game script. You can do poetry, short stories, comic books, audio dramas, any kind of things that you want. So really, I mean, like the sky is the limit with Camp NaNoWriMo. So the question for you is, have you tried writing in those other formats before? And if so, what's different about them? How about we talk about that? So have you tried writing in like a different format before? Like a script or a poem or?
No.
Really?
I used to write poetry, but I don't really anymore. Again, I'm trying to write YA right now, and I haven't ever done that before. And so I've started reading YA novels, and it's just a very different kind of narration.
Right.
And so I've been trying to.
Like how so, you think?
I think it's a lot more casual, like casually written than more, I mean, adult or oriented fiction, I think. But, and like the themes obviously are very different. And so I've been trying to kind of readjust to thinking about life and everything in those ways. And it's kind of a head trip.
Nice.
It's very strange, but I love it.
It's a good challenge, you would say.
Oh, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm reading some really great stuff in the chat here about like what you're writing. A couple of people said you've written scripts before, but never for NaNoWriMo. Alessia J says, I write a lot of poetry and short stories, but this is my first novel. Really, that's awesome.
Nice.
Way to go. I wrote a sonnet. Yankees Loving Bat says, I wrote a sonnet. I sometimes write poetry, but I'm not good at it. I'm same with you. I've attempted poetry before, and then I realized I'm not good at poetry, and so I stopped writing poetry. So I stick mostly with prose. I think I mentioned like, yeah, I've done scripts before. I always underestimated like how different it was. But it's an exciting kind of different. I'm trying to juggle 2 projects this time. One being the story that I mentioned, and one being like a script for either like a text adventure or like a game or like a comic book. I'm really not entirely sure.
Are you going to combine them in any way?
No, they're totally different projects. No.
Okay.
It's more like a cathartic kind of a project about some stuff. But I'm excited to give that one a try because
nice.
Yeah. So what's challenging about changing up the rhythm? Obviously, like starting out, is going to be difficult because you might be stuck in that kind of writing a novel mode or what have you. But like what we're going to talk a little bit in a little while about how to get outside the box. But like, do you have any suggestions about how do you get started on a different type of project?
So like getting out of the mindset, or like
or like getting some ideas that.
I like to do things that are really different than the way I usually do them. Like, I really enjoy trying to write for children. That really helps me get out of the my normal writing mindset. And drawing and trying to tell stories visually also really helps me because it's not the way I usually do it, but it helps you think about it in a different way and think about how your characters express things and how you can show things without necessarily like explaining them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is there anything you like read or research that you found that's like helping with that? Like anything in particular?
With what?
With like getting more ideas or like trying like drawing things or
I read a lot of books about like just different ways to tell stories. Like there's a really like I read a really good book, and of course right now I can't remember the name of it, about comics. Scott McCloud.
Oh, Understanding Comics.
Is that it?
And I had to read it for a class
really
that took comic books. Yeah, it's a great book. Yeah.
And so just trying to like take on different perspectives on storytelling, and like thinking about how children read stories and how that kind of thing.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. Right now I'm reading the book Lincoln and the Bardo by George Saunders. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but it's like The best way I can describe it is a bunch of ghosts all start talking about how they don't like being ghosts. It's kind of weird. And then Abraham Lincoln's son shows up. It's very good, but it's like all like dialogue sections. Anyway, we should probably get going on our virtual write-in. Excuse me, not virtual write-in. Our next sprint. For any of you who are just joining, this is virtual write-in. The info is in the description, but basically we're helping everybody get ready for Camp NaNoWriMo. So our next prompt is gonna be write in a different style, kind of taking what we've talked about here and in the chat a little bit. The idea being take your idea that you did in the first sprint or another idea and try and write it in a different format than you originally planned. So if you are planning on writing a novel, maybe try and rewrite it as a script or as a poem or vice versa. If you have a chance, maybe try writing a comic strip that kind of retells that story, and think about like what's going to be different about it. So this is going to be a 10-minute sprint. Anything else that I'm forgetting? Or I think yeah, okay. Oh no, excuse me, sorry. 10 minutes. There we go. So I will let you know when you get to halftime and when the time is up, and begin. See, the prompt is idea from the last sprint, do it in a different format. I'm going to attempt to draw it. Oh, about 5 minutes left. And time's up. Put down your pens and cup in hands. Let's talk about it. Everybody share in the chat. What did y'all do? What kind of format did you pick for this kind of shake-up challenge? Let's start with you. What did you do?
I tried to write stream of conscious.
Tell me about it. What was that like?
It's really hard because
sorry, I'm just gonna put this on. Yeah. Keep going. Stream of consciousness.
I don't know. It's just difficult.
So what made it different from like your normal style of writing?
Usually I don't do it like in the person's head as much. Usually I do a lot more
external stuff.
Yeah, and it's actually really helpful to kind of think, to tell the story from the person's head as kind of a reflection, while including their own opinions and thoughts, as if like it becomes the reader's thoughts as well. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I don't know. What did you write? I
decided to do a really, really crappy comic strip version of like the first few sections of my story.
I love it.
So like, obviously I can't draw like at all. I also, my handwriting's terrible. But basically, like I took like the first few scenes that I can remember. The way the story is told is kind of like semi out of order. Not out of order, but it's like a lot of framing. She's telling me when she's older. But like, first one is like, okay, somebody shows up and they're like, I want to talk to you. It's like, I don't want to talk to you. Okay, I'll talk to you. Next one's like, you know, her being a kid, like, hey, look over there. You know, we need to find work. And they're like, no, I don't want to give you work. Yes, you will. Fine. Okay. So it's kind of tongue-in-cheek version. I'm going to do this off. This really hurts. Kind of a tongue-in-cheek, semi-comprehensible version of my story. But anyway, that's what I did.
Did it help?
I think so. It was pretty fun. We'll have to see how. I actually might use that for planning the rest of my story, because just typing it out ends up like, I always end up with like really long sections of like, and then this happens. So I don't know. I think it'll help. So let's hear, what did everybody write in the chat? A couple of people said they picked. They wrote a short story, or they transformed it into a poem.
Descriptive prose.
Tell us about descriptive prose. So is that like, here's one thing and let's describe it in as much detail as we can? Or
I think so.
Nice.
I'm guessing.
Let's
Diagrams.
hear about that. Did some diagrams of, this is Melly L in the chat. I did some diagrams of magical positions and forms. My drawing sucks, but at least I know how a person is moving around during a difficult scene. I always have a lot of trouble with that. It's part of why I don't like to write like action-y scenes, because I don't know about you. I feel like it's really difficult to like describe what people are doing in a scene. That doesn't sound like, then he did this.
It's kind of like blocking. Almost. Yeah. Like on stage when you're in a play, like you have to block out where everyone moves, like at what point. Have you ever been in a play?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay.
I mean, maybe like when I was in preschool, but I haven't acted in forever.
Well, it's called blocking.
Okay.
And it's like when the director, you have to go through the scene and the director tells people where to stand and where to move. And you have to figure out how everyone is like, where everyone's going to be at each point in the scene. I figure like that. Yeah. Blocking.
Blocking. Okay.
Yeah.
So do
diagrams would be a great idea.
Do you draw like a diagram to like get an idea of where everyone is? I know that I think it's Scrivener. Maybe it's a different program. Different writing programs have those features, like it'll let you just make like a little diagram, which can be useful. Blocking goals. I focused on the scenery a lot. I don't know why, but it helped me understand how something affects my character. That's from Jasper the Ghost. That's a really good one. I definitely know that that's something I've fallen back on sometimes when like I am having trouble in a scene. I'll just go and like talk about the surroundings for a while until I can kind of get back on track.
A series of text messages.
That's really cool. I think, yeah, I saw that in the chat before. That's a really creative way of doing things, I think.
I like that.
So how would you tell a story in text messages? Like
I'm pretty sure there's a book
that's just
that does it with Shakespeare stories and tells Shakespeare stories in text messages.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think I've seen that before.
Super creative.
That's really cool.
It's almost like doing it through dialogue, except looking at the dialogue from the standpoint of the way people communicate via like text. You know? Yeah. Focusing on scenery. That helps actually.
Definitely.
Understand how something affects my character. Yeah, definitely.
So describing a sunrise, so cliche, but it's important to the storyline due to vampires being involved. That's smart. I mean, I don't know. I feel like if I was writing a story about vampires, I would end up just forgetting about the whole sunrise thing. And then at one point, somebody read it and be like, "Don't vampires like melt in the sun?" And I'd be like, "Oh, jeez." It's important unless you want like sunshine-proof vampires.
You can invent your own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't melt in twilight.
Yeah. So anyway, like the big part of this prompt, the idea is that like taking your idea that you have and just thinking about it in a totally different way. I think for me personally, it helped quite a bit, even if my drawings are very bad. Anyway, so let's do our next discussion, and so that's kind of on that point. Sunfires. Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I like that.
It took me a while to like click. Like, what is that? So what helps you think outside the box? So our big question right now is like, what's so difficult about writing in a different format, and what do you do to help you break out of your routine? So I think they mentioned this a little bit, like writing outside the box, like in a different style than you're used to. It can be hard to like change gears, you know. I don't know. What do you think of that? Like, what's difficult about writing outside the box?
Oh,
sorry, I've got allergies today.
Well, I think getting into that mindset is a really difficult thing. Like, and knowing where to go, because what's familiar is so familiar that you don't know to think of something else. And you know what I mean?
I'm trying to figure it out. Like, so what?
How like coming up with ideas that are outside your normal box. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of a challenge. So going through, I mean, even like your dreams, your conscious, you know, your subconscious, your sometimes going on walks and like paying attention to like extreme details for some reason really helps. Going to new places though is my favorite thing if it's possible. Whenever I travel, I'm like become super writing oriented and I just write a ton.
What's like your favorite place to go to like help you with your writing?
I studied abroad.
Right. Okay.
I wrote a ton. I'd like about everything, not even like where I was necessarily, but just about everything. Like I wrote children's stories, I wrote comics, I wrote, you know, story, like more story, like based stuff, just everything. But you can't always travel.
Right. Well, I think kind of the big part of that is like just kind of getting out of your normal space. You know, that can really help.
The other thing about getting out of your normal space is a lot of times it makes it easier to write about, like if you're talking about a physical space, to write about that place.
Right.
Like,
if you go there.
I write about the Bay better when I'm in Los Angeles, and I write about Los Angeles better when I'm in the Bay.
I feel like I'm the opposite. I got to be in the place to kind of get in that mindset.
Interesting.
It's only been recently that I've been like writing more stuff like set in and about like the Bay Area, even though like that's where I've lived my whole life. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I mean, for me, like I will, you know, work in my office at home for a long time, and I'll just feel super like stuck. And then all it takes is to like just go somewhere else, like go sit outside, or even go work in like the living room or something for a while instead.
See, for me, I have to like completely remove myself from the space. Like I go to coffee shops.
Right. Yeah. I did that the other day, and it totally helped.
Yeah. Also, because you're around people,
right?
And there's people talking, and there's stimulation, and
you go to coffee shops, and everyone else is a writer. It's perfect.
Some people say music helps them. Yeah, that definitely I can understand that too.
I'm trying to break out of the rhythm of like listening to music with words in it because that breaks my concentration. But like I still do it. You know?
Yeah. This person says, I like to change the way I'm writing. Like I usually write in a notebook. Sometimes I type it, so I don't have the same vibe. That actually helps me a lot too, because when I'm writing something like by hand, it doesn't feel as permanent because I never have to go back and reread it. So I do that more for like just like brainstorming and coming up with ideas and free writing and stuff.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Like I'm kind of the same on free writing. Like if I'm writing it down on paper, it feels more what's the word? Deliberate. Like oh god, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Purposeful. How about that? Because I can't go back and backspace. Because when I'm typing, I'll end up being like a perfectionist. I'll go back and like this intentional. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Intentional about my writing because I'm just doing it with pen, and I don't know. I guess I feel like that makes it feel different enough than typing it on a computer.
Because it's slower.
Yeah, it's slower. It's more effortful too.
And you have to think more about the words.
Yeah.
Try writing an entire scene from another point of view. So if a scene is written from your main character's point of view, try writing the same scene from another character's point of view. Definitely. Oh, that's actually a really good tool. Yeah, I like that.
That's a really, really good exercise, I think. Maybe we'll try that for another virtual write-in. Okay, good. I guess talking about anything else on this topic, or oh, we don't have our books for the next one. Do you want to grab like 2 random books from the shelf? So I guess let's talk about our next prompt then. This is the 3rd prompt of the virtual write-in. Just pick like 1 random or 2 random. Okay. So our next prompt is going to be like, again, kind of breaking out of your normal writing routine and getting inspiration from different places. So here's the prompt. I'm going to take the nearest book. In our case, since the NaNoWriMo bookshelf is very well stocked, picked up Harry Potter and Sorcerer's Stone. And what'd you get? American Gods? Nice. So take the nearest book, open to a random page, and take the 4th sentence you see and use it as inspiration. So that means you can start a new scene with that sentence. It doesn't have to be related to the book that you picked up. Just those words there and go off as some kind of inspiration from that. So this is going to be a 10-minute sprint. And again, you can kind of do whatever format you want. If you want to draw, if you want to write a prose scene, if you want to write a script, kind of take it whichever way you want. So I'm going to start the timer right now and let you know when you got halftime and when the time's up. Ready? And begin. Got about 5 minutes left. And time is up. remember to put your pens down and let us know what you guys write about and how many words did you get if you want to share that. First off, if you haven't already, share what sentence that you picked, if any, from the book. What'd you get?
I got, "That wasn't what I meant," said Allison.
That's not a bad place to start it. Or what'd you end up doing with it?
I went in a lot of different directions, and I just kept changing directions and not worrying too much about it. It turned into a slight rant, but I'm working on it. I'm working.
Nice.
What about you? What did you get?
I have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I turned the page. God, this copy's ruined. Anyway, I can't remember what page it was on, but the sentence was, "There were too many doors to count leading off the hall, and yet more goblins were showing people in and out of these." And that was interesting. The first half of the sentence meant too many doors to count leading off the hall. That's what kind of grabbed me on this one. And so I used that to describe, like, is there a place in this story, in this world, that has a long hallway and many doors leading off in different directions? And that got me thinking about like where the main character works now as an adult. She works basically for like the tourism bureau of like the equivalent of like a port town. So like kind of a small operation. And that kind of got me thinking a lot about like her office is like way in the back of this old building and like down a hall, down the 7th right, you know, down like another staircase. It's like it's really hard to get in there. So, something like that. So that kind of got me thinking a bit about like what her whole deal is. So I thought it was good. Yeah.
That's another thing that diagram is good for.
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely going to draw this building. So what did everybody else say? The nearest book to me was a criminology textbook. This is Alessia J. I opened to a page about crime trends and ended up fleshing out the criminal aspect of my world's culture and laws. You lucked out. Oh my God, that's awesome.
That's also making really good like use.
That's super resourceful. I love it. I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Sheriff and rancher discussing how their grandfather's ranches are losing more money to rustlers than predators. I like that. Alexi Sweet says, "Radar's right. That's from Paper Towns by John Green. I basically turned into a Twister remake." Nice. Like the movie Twister, I guess? Or they didn't make an adaptation of the party game Twister, right? I'm trying to make sure like I didn't miss that.
Not to my knowledge.
Sorry, I still haven't gotten to the fact they're making a movie based on Tag, apparently. But anyway, sorry, rambling.
Maybe one of you can write that novel.
Based on the novel Tag. Wait.
Based on Twister.
Okay. I'm sorry, I've gotten off track. A lot of people got Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which is a very good book to have by your side at all times. Movie Twister. It's past 6:30 when he arrived back at the house. That's honestly like a really good sentence for like starting out. Anyway, the idea with this is like, you know, getting some inspiration from unexpected sources, especially if it's kind of random. And you know, think about, can you translate that in Spanish? My Spanish is not good enough.
I think that I'm enthusiastic about that, he said with a forced smile, even though it discussed the idea that he was disgusted by the idea that he had to spend the whole day in
the dark corner? I'm not sure.
The dark room.
I think so. Anyway, sorry. That just caught my eye. Yeah, the idea is, you know.
Before beginning.
Oh yeah. Nice. This book was a MG contemporary, and sometime I turned it into a young adult dark fantasy.
What's MG?
I'm not sure what MG is, but that sounds really cool, like turning something into a different genre. Anyway, like the idea with this is like maybe you take something different, thinking about it a little bit, and either put a new spin on it, like genre-wise, or write it in a totally different format, or use that, you know, to help your project.
And also, you can build something from anything. You know, you can take something and write a story about it, even if it's just like a 300-word story.
Mm-hmm.
Those are great to write and to try to tell some kind of story in a short number of words. or to take something and make it into something totally different, like to take a phrase out of context. Anything can be something to build on, and that's a really great tool.
Definitely, I definitely agree. Anyway, probably time to wrap this up. So, do you want to do the wrap up or talk about like what's next?
So we're gonna have a virtual write-in next week at the same time. Don't forget to announce your project on the website so that you can join a cabin. Do you want to explain what a cabin is? Sure.
Yeah, cabins are really great. Cabins, if you are at all familiar with the Young Writers Program and how that works, how that kind of has classrooms, it's a little similar to that in that you can get put in a group with other writers either at random or based on the genre or your age or interests, etc., or just with your friends, and that puts you in a group with those other writers up to 20, I think. And you can chat together, you can work on your writing together. I think you can do word sprints, but it's a really great way to kind of get your own writing group, which, from my personal experience, is invaluable. I think it's super great to have that, especially throughout the month, and encouraging people to write together. But yeah, we've done the first round of sorting people in the cabins, and I think you can definitely still join a cabin at this point. And yeah, camp starts April 1st, and we hope to see you there. So I don't think I have anything else to add.
No, I think that's good. Thank you so much for joining us. This was super fun.
We hope you guys found it helpful too. It's definitely like a lot of fun for us to do. Talk with y'all guys. Yeah. All right. So I think that's it. All right.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.